The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. It's your midweek fix for racing news and information. Brought to you by the Championship Racing Network. Now let's head trackside to join your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson.
Welcome into Crossed Flags. I am Steve West, Matt Nicholson right there. Producer John, we appreciate all of his hard work in the background, and of course, producer Molly as well. I'm going to let you know that, as you can see, we're trying the home game again, and I have technical people coming out tomorrow as we record on this Wednesday. So they're coming out tomorrow to check the line coming into the house. So let's hope that it holds out long enough for us to do this podcast. Couple of things that we want to deal with here. We're going to be talking IndyCar here in just a moment, but first things first, let's talk a little NHRA. Schedule's out for 2026, and we'll be showing it to you here as soon as producer John gets it up there. Some changes here for next year. We're not really seeing the doubles as far as them going to one place more than once, save for Pomona. Like ZMAX Dragway in Charlotte, it appears we're not going there twice. It appears we're not going to do Las Vegas twice. Instead, they're coming back to Georgia, South Georgia. What do you think about that there, Matt?
I think that it's really good that they're reviving those Southern Nationals. It's not at Atlanta, which stinks about it, but being at South Georgia Motorsports Park in Albany, that's a formidable, very formidable facility.
Okay.
I think it'll be good.
All things being equal, for those people who are not overly familiar with the state of Georgia and where everything is, about how far is this track away from Atlanta Dragway?
From Atlanta Dragway to this Dragway, it's probably, I'm going to say, a solid 3 hours, if not 3.5.
So just be prepared for the drive. If you are looking forward to it, you're going to be driving a little bit deeper in the south, so to speak. And going to Maryland.
Yeah.
Anything about catches unusual, or is this just going back to Georgia? We're going back to Maryland.
I'm really not sure. Maryland's the one that caught me off guard. I didn't know there was a very formidable facility in Maryland that could host an NHRA, but now we do.
Yeah, I have a couple of different locations in Maryland. I've been lucky enough to be there, but I have to admit, I don't remember them being necessarily NHRA grade to host the Mission Foods Drag Racing Series. So I thought it'd be interesting to see exactly what happened with that. What else on the schedule for them other than the TBE that sits there? Because they got one date and they say, okay, we got this weekend, but we haven't figured out exactly where we're going yet.
Outside of that, and with that TBD being into the countdown, there's really nothing that is, I'm going to say really nothing that is kind of eye-popping to me outside of that one. And, I'm happy that they're going back to Georgia and getting another facility in the Southeast, which the TBD, I know we're a formidable facility. Actually, two formidable facilities do sit within our state boundaries still in Montgomery. They're capable of hosting that. So, if they can put a good TBD to be on the TBD date, if they can get a good facility, this is a pretty solid schedule.
So, assuming that this is still being recorded as we go along here, because again, I'm dealing with internet fun. I think the one thing that kind of caught me is the fact that we're not really seeing, unless they do it during the countdown, we're not really seeing 4 wide.
The only 4 wide that there is now is going to be Charlotte, and that's going to be it.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see whether that all falls together or not. But it looks to be a pretty decent schedule, and they're ready to go. Mission Foods Drag Racing Series for 2026.
For sure.
Let's move along quickly here and talk from one scheduling to another here. And we don't have any picture for you on this because, well, the truth of the matter is IndyCar hasn't come out with their schedule yet. We still keep hearing rumors and drips and drabs, and one of them is the fact that they continue to talk to Mexico City, and it's beginning to look like Mexico City might become more of a realistic thing, because if Barber Motorsports Park goes where the rumor says it's going to go, they've got a big opening for that.
A massive, massive opening, because if it goes where I've read that it's going to go, and it came from a reporter, I can't remember exactly who it was, that works for the Indy Star, that has their thumb on the pulse of IndyCar.
So yeah, it's a reliable source.
It's very reliable, and if it's going into that March date that I read, March 27th through 29th, might want to get your sleeves out, boys and girls. It may be a little cool, which I love races that are cool.
Sure.
Weather, and it makes for better racing, in my opinion.
The one drawback to me, anyway, and this is debatable. I mean, for some people this isn't a problem, but to me it breaks up what we always have called Alabama Speed Weeks, because we know Talladega is coming up the last weekend of the month of April. Usually Barber either fell on the weekend before, or more likely the weekend after Talladega, right, and allowed us to have those two races back to back. And people who came for one race, a lot of them actually did. A surprising number of them stuck around to go see the other, whatever the order was.
Yes. Yes.
That's the problem to me.
Yeah, but I don't think this, as you may be able to hear my little two-person choir in the background, because somebody got home. I don't think it's terribly a bad thing to split the speed weeks up, because each event, Talladega's Talladega. Period.
It is. Oh yeah.
But it can give Barber, to me, it can give Barber its own identity weekend, to where if you can zero in and get it that weekend as a set fixture for that specific weekend, it can be like, hey, this weekend in March, we know where we're going. Just like we know we're going to be in Indianapolis in the whole month of May.
Yeah.
Give it that own identity. And I don't think if it slots into that date, I don't think it's terribly a bad thing.
And everything's still going to be beautiful. I mean, we'll have started the process of really getting into spring. Like you said, it may be cool, but it shouldn't be just downright cold. So we'll start to see the greening of it looking back. And, they love to call us the Augusta of road courses, especially on the IndyCar course. I don't see that as being any different. It should warm up enough and green up enough to make it as beautiful as it is at the end of April or early May.
To where some things would possibly be in either in early bloom or in full bloom, it may make it even more picturesque. Who knows?
That actually could be true too. And the second half of the schedule, we really don't know, except for something that we found out really earlier today, in that the Streets of Toronto Grand Prix will not be in Toronto next year. Now, there's a reason for that. That race would fall in that window of the World Cup, which North America is hosting next year. And I state that specifically that way because it was a combined effort between Canada, the United States, and Mexico to host the World Cup in all three countries. And Toronto, being the major hub that it is going to get World Cup games right in the middle of where that racetrack on the streets in Toronto would have been. So they're going to go, about 30 miles outside of Toronto in a suburb, I use the term loosely, called Markham?
Markham, yeah. That's actually where James Hinchcliffe grew up, in Markham.
Okay. So this is definitely a home race for him.
It'd be definitely a home race, too.
He'll be a commentator.
I've seen the layout of the course, and it's going to be intriguing. Let's call it that. Because it's got characteristics of a dual side-by-side straight in a tight hairpin turn, like we had at the Nashville Street Course.
Right.
There's an area of that in there too. And another thing that dropped about an hour ago regarding IndyCar scheduling that came from Adam Stern on his social media, that buried within the article, somebody else pulled out the article, but within that article, that they may be adding a street race in Washington, D.C. in place of Mexico City on the 26th schedule because of World Cup stuff.
Sure. Yeah. I understand that. Well, it'll be interesting to see how all that works out. And if they do end up working a street course in Washington, D.C., what's the street course? Where? What are the streets they're going to use? Because if you could figure out a way to put it around the downtown mall, yeah, you're going to mess up a whole lot of people in and around there. But you want to talk about picturesque if you do it at the right time, like say when the cherry blossoms are blooming.
Oh, that would be outstanding. But I mean, you would. I mean, what are we going to do? Run in front of the Capitol and hook down Pennsylvania Avenue in the White House? We're going to have pit road on the West Wing or something at the West Wing or something.
Secret Service might have a bit of a problem with that.
Yeah, maybe so for sure.
So we'll see. I'll be curious to see whether or not that actually comes to fruition or not. And again, it's the early part of the schedule. Looks like we're going to have 3 races in fairly quick succession. Obviously, we'll open up at St. Petersburg. Then they're talking about in rapid fire succession, St. Petersburg, the next week in Phoenix, and the next week doing the Acura Grand Prix at Long Beach. And yes, I said Phoenix. They're going to join NASCAR and have a NASCAR IndyCar weekend at Phoenix.
I don't, from an oval standpoint, I think that's a decent location.
They've raced there before, but it's been a few years.
It's been a few years. I think it would be a decent location for a doubleheader with the reconfiguration of Phoenix that's recently been done.
Yeah.
And then because we all know that there will never, ever, 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 ever be an IndyCar NASCAR doubleheader on the oval in Indianapolis. Ever.
No.
So, in my opinion, that even though I secretly, demonically would love to see a doubleheader somewhere like Talladega or Daytona, which we know that's not going to happen.
No, it won't.
So, I would say probably either Phoenix or somewhere like Homestead would be a viable candidate for me.
And they've run Homestead before too. So that would be a very viable one. I figure the way that the scheduling is going to be, because this is going to be all 3 of NASCAR's top series. So trucks Friday night, IndyCar, Xfinity, or what will be the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series next year, that being Saturday and then Cup on Sunday, or do you see it being some way else?
That is the likely setup for me.
Okay.
That I see happening.
And it would seem to make the most sense. And then, like I said, they're going to go out to Long Beach, and then we're not really sure what's going to happen between Long Beach and Barber. There may be nothing, because that's a pretty quick turnaround. So we'll probably just come straight from Long Beach to Barber. And then you've got that period of time there where we don't know what's going to happen until we know the second weekend in the month of May, they're going to be on the Indy Road Course and then preparing for the Indy 500 on Memorial Day weekend. And we know that the weekend after that, the last weekend of the month of May, is going to be Detroit. Past that, we don't know anything.
I've seen possibly Arlington could be through into March as well and be racing 4 out of 5 weeks in March.
Whoa. Okay. So that would probably be Long Beach, Arlington, Barber.
Yep.
Okay.
It would be. Right. It would be.
I have to admit, I forgot about that part.
Phoenix, Long Beach, Arlington, Barber backtrack. Okay. Basically an I-20 backtrack.
Yeah. And then the potential of a Washington, D.C. or something in the middle in April to give them something in April, fill the hole. And obviously they've got room for 2 races. We'll see whether or not they try and fill that. And then, like I said, everything after the month of May, other than the Markham race, which takes the place of the Streets of Toronto, we're not really sure of dates and times and locales. So we'll wait and see on that. Maybe we'll get that by Saturday, but I wouldn't count on it. And that brings us to silly season. And there's a lot of movement, and we'll detail it during the big show. We'll be back in the radio studio on Saturday to do that. But probably on one hand, one of the worst kept secrets in the garage. But on the other hand, still a bit of a shock when you think about the fact that he has driven for this team for 17 years. Team Penske, let's see, yesterday officially, I think it was, announced Tuesday as we record this, they announced, and you'll see the statement here when producer John puts it up from Team Penske, that Will Power, after 17 years, is no longer driving for Team Penske when it comes to next year. They said basically Roger Penske and Will Power sat down, they talked about it, and it just seemed like, and I'm thinking this is more of Roger Penske's idea, because he now wants to bring in a younger guy. I'll give you the driver that it's going to be. It's going to be David Malukas. He just wants to get younger, and with all due respect to Will Power, who can still win races and still compete, although this year was something of a down year for him, I think he just wanted to get younger.
Well, from things that I've read and seen about everything, this was actually Will Power's decision to step away.
Okay.
So, and where he landed with the new ride, I think he landed quite softly.
Oh, 110% on that.
Not as soft as where he was, but it's still pretty soft.
Yeah, it's and the truth of the matter is he'll be able to go over there and do some pretty good things. So David Malukas next year. Let's see who else we got. Joseph Newgarden, and who am I missing? Scott McLaughlin. Not a bad trio considering what David Malukas did this year at AJ Foyt, which is affiliated with Team Penske. We've detailed that got signed early on. Is this a trio that's on par with having Will Power in there, or is this an opportunity for David Malukas to learn a lot from a two-time champion in Joseph Newgarden and from a guy who came in like a house on fire, and he's been a consistent threat to win races in Scott McLaughlin?
I'm going to say it's more of and the reason I say this is because of how David Malukas actually got into a stable ride this year. We know he had the instability last year with the McLaren deal going crazy, and he got some stability this year. And considering that he had the AJ Foyt car fairly consistent, I'm going to say this is more of a lateral move from a talent standpoint.
Okay.
Experience standpoint, Power by far has the edge.
Sure.
But from a talent standpoint of how this year went for both of them, I'm going to say it's a lateral move.
Okay. So what we saw to Will Power this year, David Malukas, that's his bar. That's where he should be, if not higher.
Yeah, because there was quite a few races that David Malukas outran Will Power soundly.
That's true. And this was one of the few years that we really didn't talk about Will Power being much of a threat for race wins, and he had a hard time all year when it came to overall points. He was never really a championship contender.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
But he, I think he's in pretty good shape for next year.
All right. Well, let's talk about Will Power and where he signed, because it took less than 24 hours. Truth be told, I think these guys were ready to pounce. And this is because of a situation with Colton Herta. Colton Herta is indeed going into Formula One in a way. We'll detail that fully coming up on the big show on Saturday. So that left Andretti Global, and I'm still going to call them that, even though they're operated by TWG. They still have the Andretti Global name over the IndyCar operation specifically. So I'm still going to call them that. That left the ride open, and they wasted zero time going out and getting Will Power. And they had a big to-do that Will Power showed up on a social media page. Producer John, I think, can find that here momentarily and show that picture to you. Will Power going to Andretti Global. Like you said, soft landing for him. There you go. There it is. And I agree. Soft landing for him. What does he bring for Andretti Global that Colton Herta is leaving behind?
Experience.
Is it just experience, or what else can he bring to that team?
Overall experience from every single facet of classifying experience, from laps that he's got on track, years he's been in the series, and different things he's been a part of. Overall experience. Okay. Combining it with Kyle Kirkwood and Marcus Ericsson.
Right.
I think they'll be pretty fair.
In the last couple of years, we have seen them slowly kind of coming back into prominence here. Colton Herta finishing, if I remember right, inside the top 10 in final points, and that's the car that Will Power is going to take over. It just seems like Andretti has been missing just that little thing right there. And Will Power coming from Team Penske, a team that we know can and generally does win, except for years when McLaren just goes out of their mind. Is this his ability to go, hey, listen, this I think is what you're missing. It's just this little thing right here. Is that something that he brings to this team as well?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
It's going to be real interesting to watch that car next year.
Yep.
Real interesting to watch that car. As far as Cadillac, we've told you here before, they've already got their 2 drivers signed. Cadillac F1 team, they've already got their 2 drivers signed. We know them as the veterans that they are, even though they're currently not racing this year in Formula One. Colton Herta is going over there to be their test driver, and that tells me that he is resident driver in waiting.
Well, the thing about that is, though, and I'll say this up front, I'm not against someone going out on a limb, let's call it that.
Sure.
And betting on themselves. This is exactly what Colton Herta is doing. He's betting on himself. He's getting that opportunity to live out the dream that he's had of being in F1 and achieving F1 level status.
Right.
Okay, good for you. But we all know, and it's no secret, you are within a fraction, an absolute fraction of having your super license points. What are you going to do to get your super license point? Because you can't get super license points just being a test driver.
But
what are you going to do?
At the same time, isn't there a certain number of points that he can get for things like participating in the preseason practice sessions and also in like FP1s throughout the course of the year?
I'm not 100% sure on that.
There's a part of me that says that there is that possibility. I'm not 100% on it myself. We'll have to check on it. Maybe we'll have a better answer on this. Again, we're not going to detail this here. We'll detail it more fully when we come to Saturday. So hopefully we'll have that answer for you then. Right. But I think he does get some points, but we'll also check and see where he does sit, because we should be able to find that information out, how many super license points he has. He needs 40, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So there you go. That is that. And I guess for the most part, my internet is held out. I appreciate the patience of producer John and Matt and producer Molly. Again, hopefully tomorrow that'll be fixed. And the next time we have to play a home game, I'm not going to be sitting on pins and needles waiting for my internet to go out. So we'll go ahead and wrap this one up while we can. Thank you very much for checking it out. Again, back in studio, and we have the radio station flagship and, of course, right here on CRN Live on YouTube coming up Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. Join us then. Thanks to Molly. Thanks to John. Thanks to Matt. I'm Steve West. Thank you for checking us out here on Cross Flags. Don't forget to subscribe below if you haven't already. And we love the comments too. Feel free to comment away, and we'll talk to you Saturday.
You've been listening to Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. For more content like this, subscribe to CRN Live on YouTube, and you'll be set to catch the 2-hour live show every Saturday morning at 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.